Jin Wanzhou traveled to 1926 and became the mayor of Shanghai. He awakened many sons and blessings, and as he served the country, the system became stronger. He only needs to find more high-quality women to marry and have children, and he will receive amazing rewards. Soon, he began to crazily engage in infrastructure, economy, military expansion, finance. Under his leadership, Shanghai has developed rapidly. The little devils are preparing to invade the Dragon Kingdom, and they are shocked to find that they are facing millions of AK-47s, tens of thousands of hail rockets, and even tens of thousands of Tuesday 16 bombers, as well as dozens of large aircraft carriers weighing over 100,000 tons. The little devils are all confused. Good guy, is the Dragon Kingdom also a great power? Tian locust. Dragon people, I am willing to warm your bed with my little daughter, no, wife. Mao Xiong. Dragon people, you are the real steel torrent. Eagle sauce. Faced with the Dragon Man, my aircraft carriers are simply not up to par. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Awakening the Multi-Child and Multi-Blessing System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Parallel World. Blue Star. January 1, 1926. Longhua, Shanghai. A Ford the Fifth 8 family car gallops on a muddy cement road. On the Ford family car, a young man lay leisurely inside the Ford car, closing his eyes and recuperating. The young man has clear eyebrows and beautiful eyes, and is a talented person. His name is Jin Wanzhou. He is not from this world. In fact, he is a traveler. He traveled back to the Bai Youning warlord era in the Dragon Kingdom. His current identity is the son of Jin Quan, the Prime Minister of the Bai Youning warlord cabinet, and he ranks 8th in his family. He became the mayor of Shanghai at a young age thanks to his family's connections. Originally, I am now the son of Jin Quan, the Prime Minister of the Bai Youning warlord cabinet. I have a big brother named Jin Yanxi. I understand now, I have traveled to the film and television world of the Golden Powder family. Soon, the Bai Youning warlords will come to an end. At that time, I may be liquidated by the people of the Republic of China government. Headache. After knowing his current situation, he is really 2 years old. Soon, Ford entered the Shanghai municipal government. At this moment, a large group of journalists gathered at the entrance of the Shanghai municipal government. Those journalists each held ancient black and white cameras, constantly taking pictures of Jin Wanzhou. A young woman with an extremely beautiful appearance came to Jin Wanzhou and asked, "Mr. Jin, what do you want to say to the people of Shanghai?" Jin Wanzhou noticed that the woman had a head full of spiral curly hair and was dressed very fashionably. She was wearing a snow-white dress, giving off a feeling of Snow White. Jin Wanzhou was moved by the sight. He is well aware that in this period, the beautiful women here are truly pure natural beauties. Just as he was stunned, suddenly a cold mechanical sound came to his mind. Ding! The "many children, many blessings, and stronger service for the country" system is officially bound to the host. What? Has he been officially linked to the system of having more children, more blessings, and stronger service for the country? He really wants to know what the identity of the female journalist in front of him is, and why when he meets the other party, he will trigger the "more sons, more blessings, stronger service for the country" system. Seeing Jin Wanzhou stunned, the young woman repeated her words. "Mr. Jin, do you have anything to say to the people of Shanghai?" Jin Wanzhou finally regained his senses and said, "I don't have anything to say to the people of Shanghai yet. Miss, if you want to know more, you can contact my secretary. I will give you a satisfactory answer." The woman smiled brightly and said, "Thank you very much, Mr. Jin." Soon, a female secretary started talking to the woman. Inside the mayor's office, Jin Wanzhou opened the newbie gift package he received after awakening the system of having more children and more blessings, and becoming stronger when serving the country. Ding! Congratulations to the host for gaining mind control. Mind control. Is it so incredible? He immediately took a deep breath of air conditioning. Multi-child multi-blessing system. Mind control. These two things blend together and look very evil. After a while, Jin Wanzhou took the initiative to invite the woman to meet. After a while of conversation, he finally realized that the woman's name was Bai Youning. Bai Youning. He suddenly felt that the name looked a bit familiar. After pondering for a while, he suddenly remembered a Republic of China TV drama he had seen before. The female protagonist inside is called Bai Youning. Is that her? Isn't it so coincidental? He furrowed his brows slightly and asked, Miss Bai, have you heard of this person passing by San Tuesday? I have read about him in the newspaper, but I haven't seen him before. I know he is the detective of the Shanghai patrol room. Indeed, it is. Jin Wanzhou took a deep breath of air conditioning. At first, he thought he had traveled to a family of golden fans, but now he realizes that this world is still mixed with the Republic of China detective. After talking to Bai Youning for a while, he finally realized that there are still many famous people he is familiar with in Shanghai. For example, there are Yin Xinyue, Feng Qingqing, and others. Dare to say, Shanghai now is a world of film and television integration. Quickly, he came to a conclusion. Then, he attempted to exert mental control over Bai Youning, only to find that he had failed. Up. There, this mind control is not 100% successful. It's highly likely that my charm is lacking. He just used Bai Youning as an experimental subject for mind control, and he wanted to see how effective mind control was. After his first failure, he suddenly felt a sense of frustration in his heart. He exchanged contact information with Bai Youning, and then he asked her to go back to work. Perhaps it's related to my recent awakening of the duozi-duofu system. I should try harder to find others to try it out. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Bai Xiuzhu suddenly becomes active. You are listening at novel full.audio. He called the female secretary Lin that his father had found for him. When speaking, he exerted mental control. Soon, the female secretary's eyes became blurred. Seeing her like this, Jin Wanzhou knew that the mental control he exerted was effective. So he quickly asked, Secretary Lin, is there anything you can't tell me? Lin Mi wrote, I have a romantic relationship with Jin Pengzhen. He recommended me to come here. Puff. Jin Wanzhou suddenly felt depressed and almost vomited blood. On second thought, he realized that it was reasonable. Secretary Lin was originally recommended by Jin Pengzhen to his father. She is Jin Pengzhen's lover, which makes sense. Jin Pengzhen is the third young master of the Jin family, who is proficient in eating, drinking, prostitution, and gambling. Fortunately, the host and Secretary Lin had little contact before. Otherwise, he would be embarrassed. Just as he was about to familiarize himself with the current situation in Shanghai, a woman soon broke into his mayor's office. The woman was dressed in a dress, with a lively, pure, and lovely expression on her face. In Jin Wanzhou's eyes, the woman's appearance was even more beautiful than Lu Tianxian's. A person's name flashed through his mind. Bai Xiuzhu. Bai Xiuzhu said, Wanzhou, congratulations. You have become the mayor of Shanghai. Seeing the woman's fairy-like smile, Jin Wanzhou smiled slightly and said, Xiuzhu, how could you be here in Shanghai? I'll come and see you. Jin Wanzhou thought about some past events. Quickly, he realized that it was Bai Xiuzhu who was deeply in love with Jin Yanxi at this moment, feeling depressed. She should have come to him to relax. Jin Wanzhou is not Bai Xiuzhu's spare tire. They have only met more than 10 times, without any romantic elements. He did not fall in love with Bai Xiuzhu. Because she is 3 years older than him. In the Republic of China, sibling love was still a minority. In the past, the protagonist couldn't accept sibling love. After chatting for a while, Jin Wanzhou agreed to go to the Heart Moon restaurant with her for dinner tonight. He just wants to meet Yin Xinyue from Xinyue restaurant. However, when he entered the Xinyue hotel, he was informed that Yin Xinyue was not inside. He suddenly felt extremely depressed. The Heart Moon Hotel is a large restaurant that combines dining, entertainment, accommodation, and more. Bai Xiuzhu was in the hotel room and drank heavily. Jin Wanzhou said, "Xiuzhu, your mood seems very unhappy." "I'm fine now." She said so in her mouth. But Jin Wanzhou could tell that at this moment, her mood was really bad. In no time, she became drunk. Helpless, he had no choice but to send her into his own Ford car. Jin Wanzhou looked at her more charming and unparalleled than Louis Fei, and let out a deep breath. Suddenly, a bold idea appeared in his mind. "I don't know if I can control my mind, can I control her? I really want to know where the development of Wenqiang and Jinyangxi has reached now. But she has been unwilling to say it." So he opened his eyes wide and fixed them on her. Then, he exerted mental control. Bai Xiuzhu's eyes became somewhat blurred. But it's just a bit confusing. After a while, Jin Wanzhou sighed inwardly and said, "It seems that my mind cannot control her either. Can't this mind control the female lead?" Just as he was disappointed, suddenly she rushed up to him and pressed her hands on his shoulders. The next second, she pressed him onto the back seat of the Ford car. Her face pressed against hers. Oh my goodness! What's going on here? He didn't expect Bai Xiuzhu to be so proactive. By the way, I've forgotten that she studied in both the United States and Germany. Women who have studied abroad naturally become more open-minded. Since she's so proactive, then I can't be like an old antique, can I? The driver and bodyguard were both stunned when they saw it. The same thought flashed through their hearts. This woman is so proactive. Blessed is the young master. Jin Wanzhou urged, "Quick. Drive." "Okay." The old driver who understood in a second immediately started the vehicle and left in a flash. He was very envious of Jin Wanzhou in his heart. What a beautiful woman. Surprisingly, I took the initiative to bid farewell. Not long after, they returned to the official residence of the mayor of Shanghai. He carried her into his own room. In no time, his room was filled with endless spring light. 2 hours later, he entered a wise state. When he saw a blush under her body, he realized he had taken the other person's blood. Just as he was savoring, a systematic sound came to his mind. Ding! Congratulations on establishing an intimate relationship between the host and Bai Xiuzhu. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Bai Xiuzhu, you also have to be responsible to me. You are listening at novel full.audio. The system opens the full interface map of Shanghai for the host. In the future, all rewards given to the host by the system will be directly displayed on the full interface map. All the rewards received by the host will not be perceived as problematic by the people of Shanghai as a whole. Host and Bai Xiuzhu establish an intimate relationship, and the host obtains 1 coal-fired power plant, 1 steel smelting plant, 1 chemical plant, and 1 cement plant. Please give these factories a name, host. Afterwards, he saw a full interface map of Shanghai appearing in his mind. These many suns and many blessings are amazing. I just took advantage of someone's situation and gained such great benefits. He checked the situation of the 4 factories he obtained. Soon, he became extremely happy. He knew that in this era, the Dragon Kingdom, whether in terms of annual power generation or steel production, was not as good as the Little Devils. During the War of Resistance against Japan, the annual steel production of the Dragon Kingdom was only 50,000 tons, while that of the Little Devils was as high as 4 million tons. During this period, the Dragon Kingdom was completely crushed by the Little Devils in all aspects. In 2024, Longgua's annual steel production reached 1 billion tons. And in the same year, the Little Devil produced less than 100 million tons of steel. The steel production of both sides has returned to normal levels. He looked at the annual output of the steel smelter and was immediately shocked. Originally, the steel smelting plant he obtained could produce 3.6 million tons of steel per year. This is almost a year of steel production for the Little Devil. After pondering for a while, he just added the word Zhenhua before the names of those 4 factories. He smiled smugly at the corner of his mouth and fell asleep, hugging her delicate body. The next day, Bai Xiuzhu woke up and suddenly felt as if there was someone by her side. So she looked up and over. The next second, she was frightened. Turns out she saw Jin Wanzhou by her side. She suddenly wanted to stay away from him. But almost at the next moment, she suddenly felt a sharp pain coming from her lower body. She suddenly turned pale and bloodless. She knew that it meant she had already lost her virginity. What's going on here? She tried to calm herself down, recalling what happened last night. Quickly, she remembered that she was drunk last night, and then she voluntarily offered herself to Jin Wanzhou. Ah! She exclaimed in surprise. At this moment, Jin Wanzhou happened to wake up. He pretended to have a puzzled expression and looked at his body, then at Bai Xiuzhu. He said softly, "Xiuzhu, this. Don't worry, I will take responsibility for you. You, go out." Bai Xiuzhu wanted to burst into tears. Jin Wanzhou said, "Xiuzhu, this is my room. It's okay, you get dressed first." Then, he got up, hurriedly put on his clothes, and left his room. He cannot predict what the other person will think in their heart. He knew that next, he should show a responsible attitude towards her and move her with the most sincere sincerity. After a while, as she got dressed, she opened the door. Jin Wanzhou said, "Xiuzhu, don't worry, I will take responsibility for you." Bai Xiuzhu hurriedly said, "I don't want you to be responsible." Jin Wanzhou said solemnly, "Xiuzhu, I have ruined your innocence. I will marry you." Bai Xiuzhu quickly shook her head and said, "I really don't want you to be responsible. Just treat last night's incident as a spring dream. Don't continue to tell me about last night's incident in the future." Jin Wanzhou became anxious and said, "Xiuzhu, how could you do this? Although you have lost your innocence, my innocence is also lost. What I mean is, I'm responsible to you, and you're also responsible to me." Bai Xiuzhu suddenly became confused. Do you want me to be responsible for you?" Jin Wanzhou nodded seriously and said, "Yes, I want you to marry me." Bai Xiuzhu immediately refused, dreaming. Jin Wanzhou smiled slightly and said, "Xiuzhu, give me a chance to pursue you. Let's talk about it later." Seeing her leaving, Jin Wanzhou quickly stopped her. "If you go out like this, I will be very worried. You can stay with me for a few days first." Although Bai Xiuzhu was determined to leave, Jin Wanzhou was stopped by soldiers outside. Helpless, she could only return to the room he had arranged for her. Jin Wanzhou returned to his room and only then did he realize that Bai Xiuzhu had already taken the bedsheet with her blood. He felt a wave of pride on his face. He took a brand new bed sheet and spread it on. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4 Bai Xiuzhu. I only hate my body for not being worthy. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. He had his servants carefully prepare a sumptuous lunch. Lunch time. Looking at the sumptuous lunch, Bai Xiuzhu had an awkward expression on her face. But she pretended nothing had happened. Jin Wanzhou won't say it out loud. He accompanied her to a feast. Jin Wanzhou said, "Xiuzhu, you should stay with me these days. I will treat you well." Bai Xiuzhu could only shake her head and say, "I'm so chaotic. Can you make me think carefully?" "Okay. But you can't leave my official residence." Bai Xiuzhu really wants to burst into tears. But she still held back. At noon, Jin Wanzhou called for the two masters who assisted him in managing Shanghai, and asked them to point out all the land belonging to Shanghai on the map for him to see. Then, he compared the land owned by Shanghai with the system's full interface map of Shanghai. Quickly, he was shocked to find that the full interface map of Shanghai perfectly matched the actual situation. This system is really amazing. He exhaled a breath of turbid air and chose a location near the sea on the full interface map of Shanghai. Then, he placed coal-fired power plants, steel smelting plants, chemical plants, and cement plants together. Afterwards, he had the driver drive a Ford and take him to inspect coal-fired power plants, steel smelters, chemical plants, and cement plants. After arriving at the destination, he began to check the situation of those 4 factories. The system annotation states that there are corresponding equipment in all 4 factories. And there are also some important technical personnel. These important technical personnel are NPCs rewarded by the system. They have no human emotions and can only complete the tasks assigned by the system. Now, all 4 factories have various raw materials that can sustain operation for a month. In the factory, there are various employee dormitories. What he needs to do next is to try his best to find raw materials and hire some workers. He entrusted this task to the officials below. In the system interface, there is a redemption mall. He can directly use gold or points to purchase raw materials such as iron or in the mall. But now he has no gold or points at all. This duozi-duofu system is really amazing. I can't even imagine how I would receive such a generous reward just by taking advantage of someone's danger. If I take advantage of someone's danger a few more times, what amazing reward would I receive? It seems that I need to make a good list. At present, there are Bai Xiuzhu, Wenqiang, Bai Youning, Fang Qingqing, and Yin Xinyue. Well, it seems like there aren't enough people. It's okay, I can always find some women in the future. The days passed unevenly for 3 days. Bai Xiuzhu did not give Jin Wanzhou more opportunities. Jin Wanzhou is not in a hurry. Anyway, he has already received her blood. To his disappointment, he also made multiple attempts to exert mental control over Bai Xiuzhu. But they all failed. Strange. Was it just her getting drunk last time? He immediately thought that it was highly likely that she was drunk. At that time, she was at the most fragile moment of her soul, which was why she was controlled by her own soul. But if it's not such a possibility, it's highly likely that Bai Xiuzhu's initiative that time was purely her voluntary gift. Several times, Bai Xiuzhu expressed her desire to go home. But they were all rejected by Jin Wanzhou. On the 4th day, the golden evening boat resolutely forced the overlord to bow. The next day, when she woke up, her eyes were fixed on the ceiling. Her eyes were full of confusion. She had intended to move her body, but the soreness emanating from her whole body made her give up the idea. Damn it! You've been refusing to let me go all night. Recalling everything that happened last night, she suddenly blushed and her ears turned red. Nima. I should hate him. But I actually have no hatred towards him at all. She could only curse her own body in her heart for not being worthy. Not long after dinner, he picked her up and placed her on his bed. This time, she didn't show as much resistance as she did last night. She asked softly, Wanzhou, will you marry me? Yes. Not only will I officially marry you, but I also want you to give me more children. I know, you like my brother in your heart. Bai Xiuzhu hurriedly said, don't worry, I won't like your brother again in the future. Jin Wanzhou smiled and said, Xiuzhu, don't just say you no longer like my brother with your mouth. You can prove it with practical actions. Proof of actual action. Bai Xiuzhu was momentarily stunned, but soon she understood the implied meaning behind the other person's words. She could only shake her hands and untie his waistband. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Marrying Bai Xiuzhu. One section is stronger than 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a while, her eyes widened, filled with a look of terror. She has experienced this kind of thing for the first time. Jin Wanzhou held on to her head and looked at her with satisfaction. The next day, Jin Wanzhou hugged her delicate body and said, Xiuzhu, I'll call my father right now and tell him that I want to officially marry you. Bai Xiuzhu nodded slightly and said, let me give my father a call too. Let's work together. 10 days later. Beiping. Jinfu. This day. The entire Jin mansion is decorated with lanterns and colorful decorations, full of joy. Many guests gathered inside and outside the Jin mansion. The owner of the Jin mansion, Jin Quan, was the prime minister of the Bai Youning warlord cabinet. Who dares to underestimate such an identity? Nowadays, almost all high-ranking officials are present in the Jin mansion. Jin Yanxi had a great relationship with Bai Xiuzhu and Jin Wanzhou, and didn't mind at all. At this moment, he still regards Bai Xiuzhu as his younger sister. He is still passionate about pursuing the cold and serene autumn. Bai Xiuzhu wore a red veil and her face was full of shyness. She didn't expect that she pursued Jin Yanxi but couldn't, and by chance, she fell in love with his younger brother. She was filled with emotions in her heart. What made her most happy was that she only then realized how beautiful it was to have men and women together. After being busy for half a day, the guests finally dispersed. Jin Wanzhou entered the bridal chamber. He lifted the red cap and said, Xiuzhu, you really worked hard today. At this moment, her face was flushed with blood. Previously, although she met Jin Wanzhou more than 10 times, they all had no emotional connection. Half a month ago, the two of them had an intimate relationship by a stroke of luck. But now, she is going to marry him as his wife. If it had been in the past, she would never have believed that she already had another man's self in her heart, and would have thrown herself into the embrace of other men so quickly. And now, all she has in her eyes is the golden evening boat. Madam, let's go to bed early. Jin Wanzhou turned off the lights. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully marrying Bai Xiuzhu. The host earns 10,000 shopping mall points. The host gains the body of the Yellow Emperor. The host gains financial luck and 100% endurance status. This endurance status will automatically disappear when the host abandons Bai Xiuzhu. At this moment, he did not pay attention to the system prompts. He's busy with his business. Previously, she felt that the golden evening boat was as fierce as a bull. And now, she suddenly felt that the golden evening boat was like a fierce tiger coming out of the lock, so fierce. Early the next morning, Jin Wanzhou woke up early. After getting up, he went to see the reward he received last night. That's really great. These 10,000 mall points are like timely rain. He immediately went to check the goods in the mall. There are various types of shopping malls, including agricultural technology and military technology. In short, only he couldn't imagine that there was nothing that the mall wouldn't sell. The body of the Yellow Emperor, on the other hand, is one that can enhance his physical fitness and make him stronger. Men with this physique are like Nanfu Juhuan can lock in more energy, one section is stronger than 6 sections. Now he has 10 times more combat power than before. Previously, Bai Xiuzhu was already unbearable to criticize, but now he is stronger than 6, which makes her feel deeply fearful. Before, she had many problems with young ladies. For example, when she used to like Jin Yanxi, whenever she saw him with other women, her heart would become very uncomfortable. At that time, she was unaware of her own thoughts, which were called desire for control. Now, when she encounters a fierce man like Jin Wanzhou, she becomes afraid. She really dares not have any control over him anymore. She just begged the other party to let go of her and not to catch her alone, so she tried her best to output. Xiuzhu, take a good rest first. I'll come see you tonight. Okay. Bai Xiuzhu's body still hasn't turned back. She sighed in her heart that the body of this golden boat was made of iron. Jin Wanzhou is reading in the study, thinking about what he should do next. After a while, he had an idea. If you want to be rich, first build roads. I should check if there are any design drawings for manufacturing cement roads in the mall. Not long after, he really found the blueprint for building cement roads in Shanghai. The cost of the blueprint for building cement roads in Shanghai is not expensive, it only requires 1,000 points. He naturally purchased it. One day later, the two of them returned to Shanghai together. Jin Wanzhou called on people from the Ministry of Construction to work together with the directors of Zhenhua cement plant and steel plant to build a well-connected infrastructure in Shanghai. Jin Wanzhou used points to make up for some of the financial shortfall. After piecing together everything, we finally managed to cover all the expenses for the first phase of infrastructure construction. Those high-ranking officials from the Ministry of Construction went to ask someone to complete his orders afterwards. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. Bai Xiuzhu pregnant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the mayor of Shanghai got married, he began to focus on infrastructure construction, and this news quickly spread throughout Shanghai. The people of the entire Shanghai city have also seen that in many places, a large number of workers have started construction on 2-way 6-lane roads. However, many people express that they cannot understand why it is necessary to build a 2-way 6-lane road in Shanghai. Although Shanghai is now known as the most prosperous city in the Dragon Kingdom, it is not prosperous enough to require the construction of 2-way 6-lane roads. However, Jin Wanzhou told all officials that by doing so, he was thinking of the future. Although Shanghai doesn't have many cars now, you will see many cars in Shanghai in the future. He has instructed officials from the Ministry of Construction to pay wages to workers on time. He repeatedly emphasized that if the wages of those workers were deducted or delayed, he would definitely remove the positions of those officials. Upon hearing his threat, no one among those officials dared to embezzle the wages of the workers. Time is like flowing water, rushing by. 10 days passed quickly. This afternoon, Jin Wanzhou, who was working in the mayor's office, heard the sound of the system in his mind. Ding! The system has detected that Bai Xiuzhu is pregnant with a baby boy, and the host has obtained 100,000 points. The host has obtained a textile factory, a barracks, a military academy, a military factory, and a modern agricultural factory. To meet the needs of the people, there must be a textile factory. Barracks, military academies, and military factories are the foundation of national defense. To Jin Wanzhou's surprise, he saw in the system annotation that as long as someone participates in military camps and academies, their loyalty to the country will reach 100. In his view, this is a buff added by the system to military camps and academies. And the system rewards his arsenal, which is a super-large arsenal that can manufacture both army and air force equipment. But what made him most happy was the modern agricultural factory, which even included fertilizer factories and agricultural tool factories, as well as super hybrid rice with a yield of 1,000 kilograms per mu. During the Republic of China period, the yield of rice per mu was only 150 kilograms. If the people of the Republic of China were to plant super rice, it would be equivalent to a 6-fold increase in the annual income of farmers. Only with enough food can the people have enough to eat. Jin Wanzhou was ecstatic in his heart. He immediately opened the full interface map of Shanghai and arranged the textile factory, barracks, military academy, military factory, and modern agricultural factory. Then he called Bai Xiuzhu. Jin Wanzhou looked bewildered and said, "What? I'm pregnant." Her heart was filled with confusion. Why didn't she know she was pregnant? "Yes. I'm sure you're pregnant. Please take care of your body." Bai Xiuzhu on the other end of the phone was confused. She couldn't understand why Jin Wanzhou was so certain that she was pregnant. "She doesn't feel anything now." She suddenly exclaimed, "Husband, if I'm really pregnant, then we shouldn't have sex in the future." Yeah. Jin Wanzhou only then remembered this incident. "I'll talk to you about things after I go back tonight." Good. After hanging up the phone, he asked 2 senior teachers to go with him to the textile factory, military camp, military academy, military factory, and modern agricultural factory to check the situation. He looked at the system's annotations and realized that the scale of the textile factories, barracks, military academies, military factories, and modern agricultural factories that the system had given him were all very astonishing. But now there is a serious shortage of raw materials in textile factories, arms factories, and modern agricultural factories, so he can only let the system consume the points he previously obtained and keep them running on a certain scale. Opening so many factories at the same time makes him feel that the expenses are quite high. Fortunately, as the mayor of Shanghai himself, he used the city's financial resources to solve the operation of those factories. For example, he used financial funds to order clothing from textile factories, and he also issued an administrative order for all farmers in Shanghai to purchase super hybrid rice seeds cultivated by modern agricultural factories. In the case of temporary shortage of raw materials, he directly uses points to purchase raw materials from the mall. If I were not the mayor of Shanghai, I wouldn't be able to guarantee that so many factories are operating simultaneously. To make a country rich and strong, many problems need to be solved. Food, clothing, housing, and transportation are indispensable. After eating and drinking enough, one also needs to satisfy their spiritual needs. At the same time, we also need to be wary of other countries, especially the little devils coveting. I should have the arsenal manufacture some submachine guns first. He looked through the information of the arsenal and wanted to know what submachine guns the modern arsenal could manufacture. Soon, he saw with excitement that the arsenal could produce AK-47. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Begins production of AK-47 and corresponding bullets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the Dragon Kingdom of 1926, the weapons manufacturing industry was extremely backward. The reason why the little devils were able to invade the Dragon Kingdom is not because their strength was very strong, but because their strength was really strong compared to the Dragon Kingdom at that time. But if we compare the Little Devil with the same period of the Bear Country and the Eagle Sauce Country, its strength is really much inferior. Compare Mao Xiong to Xiao Gizi. The steel production of Mao Xiong during World War II was about 3 times that of Xiao Gizi. In fact, many tactics of the Little Devils during World War II were still the same as during World War I. In the Battle of Nomenkin in 1939, the Little Devils also used cavalry swords to chop down Soviet tanks. Back then, Mao Xiong launched a surprise attack on the Little Devils with 57,000 troops, 498 tanks, 385 armored cars, 542 artillery and mortars, and 515 planes. And back then, the troops of the Little Devils were 75,000, with 500 artillery, 182 tanks, and over 300 planes. In terms of equipment, the Bear has an advantage. In this battle, the Bear suffered over 18,500 casualties, and the Japanese army suffered 60,000 casualties. From then on, the Little Devils dared not rashly attack the Bear. AK-47 is a product developed by Mao Xiong in 1947. Its biggest feature is simplicity, reliability, and ease of manufacturing. Back then, the mechanical manufacturing technology of the Bear was not very advanced. So, they developed submachine guns that can be manufactured with simple technical skills. The design of AK-47 is very simple, it only has 8 main components. Its magazine has a capacity of 30 rounds, uses 7.62 mm bullets, and a range of 300 meters. Besides its simple design, it can be used in any harsh environment, which is an important reason why it is famous both domestically and internationally. Although the .38 caliber rifle of Little Devil has a longer range. But in World War II, most of the battles were led by long-range artillery and other weapons. Afterwards, they engaged in close combat. Therefore, during the close combat phase, the AK-47 demonstrated super strong combat capabilities. If there is really a conflict with the Little Devils, the first step is to build enough tanks and planes to suppress the Little Devils on these 2 types of equipment. After these 2 types of equipment are enough to crush the Little Devils, launch a charge and engage them in close combat. At this point, AK-47 can play a great role. It is currently quite difficult for Jin Wanzhou to manufacture tanks, planes, etc. from the arsenal he obtained. The original system gave a prompt that all factories had to start with low-end manufacturing processes and gradually improve their technical proficiency. Only when the workers in the factories become skilled can those factories manufacture more high-end equipment. And tanks and planes are not something he can manufacture in his current arsenal. Although the professional technicians in the arms factory are very skilled in manufacturing processes, ordinary workers still need some training. After the training is completed, those ordinary workers can officially start working. So, he kept the arsenal at a certain scale, producing AK-47s and corresponding bullets. After being busy for half a day, he finally returned to his residence in the evening. He saw Bai Youning appear in the hall. Previously, at the wedding, he learned that Bai Youning and Bai Xiuzhu were cousins. Bai Xiuzhu is her cousin, while Bai Youning is her cousin. Jin Wanzhou did not expect that they would merge into one world in the way of a cousin sisters. In the original work, the 2 of them have no relationship at all. Seeing Jin Wanzhou, Bai Youning's mind came to mind the conversation she had with Bai Xiuzhu today. "Cousin, how did you get to know your cousin's husband?" "By chance. I might have been drunk, but then I took the initiative with him." "What happened later?" "Later on, he also took the initiative. And then, we were together." After learning about the details of their relationship, Bai Youning really couldn't sit still. She racked her brains but couldn't imagine that they were together by chance. In her opinion, this is really despicable. She also knew that in the past, Bai Xiuzhu was very obsessed with Jin Yanxi. And now, Bai Xiuzhu is getting involved with Jin Yanxi's younger brother. In less than half a month, they officially got married. After a brief chat, Jin Wanzhou finally realized that Bai Youning had officially met Lu Suntu. But at this time, they did not live together. She still lives with her father. His heart suddenly jumped. He estimated that with Bai Youning's qualifications, she would definitely be recognized by the system as a high-quality woman. If she were to be with Lu Suntu, his losses would be more than 1 billion. He naturally doesn't want to accept this result. So he tentatively asked her if she was willing to come to his mayor's office to help him with things. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Bai Youning, I need you to help me with promotion. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. He didn't have any expectations. He was just a probing inquiry. Bai Youning replied, cousin-in-law, is this considered an abuse of power? Jin Wanzhou, with a straight face, said, not to be reckoned with. If you hold an external position, do not avoid enemies. If you hold an internal position, do not avoid children. Now is the critical moment when the country needs talents, you don't know. I have been running many factories recently, and I need someone in the future to promote my experiences to the entire dragon country. For example, I am currently renovating highways to accelerate the allocation of various resources, allowing villages and towns that were originally disconnected to quickly bring their various agricultural products and commodities to the market for sale, in exchange for money, and to live a good life as soon as possible. In the future, I will also carry out major railway repairs in various parts of Longwa, connecting all provinces and regions together, and better realizing the optimization of resource allocation. For example, if Guangdong is short of coal, then pull over the coal from northeast China. If northeast China is short of grain, then pull over Guangdong's grain. That's why I'm doing a lot of infrastructure. In addition to infrastructure, I also bought seeds from abroad that can grow more rice. In the future, as long as all the places where this type of rice seed can be planted nationwide plant this type of rice seed, the people will no longer go hungry. I want you to vigorously promote my economic construction plan in the future, so that officials from all over the country can imitate it. Besides the economy, I also need to vigorously engage in military activities. Now, the little devils are on the verge of stirring up trouble. I estimate that in no time, the little devils will invade the Dragon Kingdom on a large scale. Now that the warlords in the Beiyang region are engaged in chaos, I hope one day they can all give up fighting and join us in dealing with the little devils. Bai Youning was startled for a moment and said, cousin-in-law, I'm afraid I won't be able to do this job well. Jin Wanzhou said, Youning, you can work as a journalist at the newspaper, and you can also write some promotional articles for me. Just consider yourself a part-time worker with me. Just as Bai Youning was indecisive, Bai Xiuzhu excitedly said, Youning, you can agree to your cousin's husband. You can also work part-time by your cousin's side. Her thought process was very simple. She wanted Bai Youning to be her scout next to Jin Wanzhou and help her inquire if there were any other women outside. Bai Xiuzhu won't have much trust in others. But Bai Youning is her cousin. Of course she chose to trust her cousin. Okay then. Encouraged by Bai Xiuzhu, Bai Youning finally agreed. That's really great. There was a burst of joy on the surface of the golden boat. He can finally have close contact with Bai Youning. He remembers that in the TV drama, The Republic of China Detective, the core of the entire plot was solving cases. Childhood love is just an embellishment. Seeing Bai Youning, Jin Wanzhou immediately thought of her father Bai Qili. In the original world, there was only the Qin gang and no Qin Long gang in Shanghai Beach. But in the current Shanghai Bund, there are not only Qin gang, but also various gangs such as Qin Long gang and Mafia. Among them, the gang leader is Feng Jingyao, the father of Feng Qingqing. Jin Wanzhou thought he should go meet Bai Qili once. He has established many factories in Shanghai, and it is inevitable that some people will be jealous and come to his factories to cause damage. He thought he should meet with the underworld gangs in Shanghai. He remembers that Bai Qili was not a heinous villain in the original work. On the contrary, Bai Qili has always been actively whitewashing herself. In Jin Wanzhou's view, perhaps he could let Bai Qili protect his factory. So he said, Youning, can you contact your father? Sure. Can you help me contact your father? I would like to schedule a meeting with him tomorrow evening at the Heart Moon restaurant. I'm scheduling a meeting with your father mainly to inquire about more information about Shanghai. Good, Youning, I'll contact you again tomorrow. Okay. After a while, Bai Youning finally left his official residence. Jin Wanzhou hugged Bai Xiuzhu and said, Xiuzhu, thank you very much for giving me a child. Bai Xiuzhu sneered, I really don't feel anything. I'm sure you're 100% pregnant. Xiuzhu. We can't have sex anymore. It's okay, I have other ways to solve it. Bai Xiuzhu's face was full of confusion. What method? Jin Wanzhou gave a sinister smile at the corner of her mouth. Next second. Bai Xiuzhu's eyes widened and her cheeks turned red, almost bleeding. Damn it. How could you do this? Jin Wanzhou stroked her head and said, Baby, I really need your help. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Controlling the black and white streets in Shanghai, is there anything? You are listening at novelfull.audio. At noon the next day. Jin Wanzhou waited for Bai Youning in the office. He first took her to the office arranged by him. Later, he met Bai Qiuli at the Heart Moon Hotel in the evening. Bai Xiuzhu also attended this banquet. Jin Wanzhou had met Bai Qiuli at his wedding with Bai Xiuzhu before. Therefore, they are not unfamiliar. Jin Wanzhou said, I should have called you uncle. I invited you here today mainly to learn something about the underworld in Shanghai from uncle's mouth. Bai Qiuli said, that's easy to say. At the banquet, he told Jin Wanzhou about some of the underworld forces he knew. Afterwards, Jin Wanzhou instructed Bai Qiuli to send someone to monitor other underworld forces. Bai Qiuli took a deep breath of air conditioning. He explained, I have already retired from the martial arts world. This is not easy to handle. Jin Wanzhou smiled and pulled Bai Qiuli outside, then secretly exerted spiritual control. He couldn't control his mind properly, and whether the dialogue with Bai Qiuli had any effect. But soon, he saw Bai Qiuli respectfully saying to him, Mayor Jin, don't worry, I will definitely send someone to closely monitor other mafia forces. That's good. That's good. Seeing Bai Qiuli's bewildered gaze and extremely respectful and humble movements, Jin Wanzhou immediately concluded that the other party had been temporarily controlled by him. Even if his spiritual control was lifted, Bai Qiuli only felt as if he had been possessed by evil, which went against his original intention. Moreover, he will completely forget any words that Jin Wanzhou said to him just now. Confirming that Bai Qiuli was truly under the control of his soul, Jin Wanzhou quickly seized the opportunity to strike the iron and said, Uncle, please advise Bai Youning and encourage her to marry me. Let her marry me and become my aunt. Bai Qiuli quickly replied, Mayor Jin. Definitely. Definitely. Let's go. Soon, Jin Wanzhou returned to the dinner table with Bai Qiuli. They just left for a while, and Bai Xiuzhu and Bai Youning didn't suspect them anymore. Bai Youning was unaware that her father had been temporarily controlled by Jin Wanzhou's mind. Not long after, the banquet ended and they went back to their respective homes. After returning home, Bai Qiuli said to Bai Youning, Youning, I think Mayor Jin is a good person. You should have more contact with him. If possible, I hope you will marry him as his aunt. Bai Youning was dumbfounded and said, Dad, why do you say that? He's my cousin-in-law. Do you want me to compete with Xiuzhu for a man? Bai Qiuli quickly explained, I'm not asking you to compete with Xiuzhu for a man, I'm asking you to marry Jin Wanzhou and serve Jin Wanzhou with Xiuzhu. Dad, don't do this. Bai Youning is really scared. At this moment, she has an impulse to run away from home. Bai Qiuli said, Youning, I just want you to marry a good family. Dad, I'm moving out. I won't let you move out. I'm going to move out. Bai Youning was furious. So she immediately began her plan to run away from home. She also didn't expect that her father would encourage her to marry Jin Wanzhou after they met again. I really didn't expect my father to be so pushy. Her dissatisfaction with her father immediately reached a high point in her heart. Bai Qiuli not only encouraged Bai Youning to marry Jin Wanzhou on one hand, but also secretly dispatched many subordinates to keep an eye on the high-level members of other underworld gangs. Jin Wanzhou wants to use Bai Qiuli's hand to control the underworld of Shanghai Beach. As for the Bai Dao who controls Shanghai Beach, it is relatively simple for him. He is now the mayor of Shanghai. He would naturally find it much easier to master the Bai Dao in Shanghai. Mastering the black and white aspects of Shanghai still has great benefits. For example, in the future, he no longer needs to worry about others damaging his factory. He also knows that the little devils are in Shanghai and have colluded with some gangs. For example, gang leader Feng Jingyao colluded with the little devils and sold opium to the people of the Dragon Kingdom. Therefore, Feng Jingyao must be removed. Thinking of the world he is currently in is a hodgepodge. Jin Wanzhou was worried that the little devils were lurking many spies in Shanghai. Therefore, he needs to first understand the current situation in Shanghai. In the following days, the barracks and military academies of Jin Wanzhou have gradually recruited many people. He knows well that under heavy rewards, there must be a brave man. The remuneration he offered was in the barracks and military academy, and as long as he could persist for a month, he would give $2. Moreover, both barracks and barracks provide free clothing, including food and accommodation. Therefore, many people entered barracks or military academies. Entering a barracks means becoming an ordinary soldier. Entering a military academy requires a certain level of cultural knowledge. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Fang Yanyun. Su Wenqiang. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The Arsenal, on the other hand, produced over 1,000 AK-47s and over 1 million bullets. He is very cautious about the choice of workers in the arms factory. He will thoroughly investigate the identities of those workers before they enter the arms factory. After confirming their identity, he let the workers enter the military academy to study. After they have studied for a period of time, he will personally meet with the workers. Then, he used his mind to control and manipulate the workers, making them speak the truth. He is so cautious because he is worried that the arsenal will infiltrate the spies of the little devils. Once the manufacturing drawings of AK-47 are leaked, it will inevitably increase the strength and chances of winning for the little devils. The system shows that the arsenal needs to manufacture 10,000 AK-47s and 10 million rounds of ammunition before unlocking artillery manufacturing. He recruited more people to manufacture AK-47. And for other factories, he also dispatched more personnel to prevent leaks. This day, as he was working in the mayor's office, he saw Bai Youning rushing over in a hurry. "Cousin-in-law, can you do me a favor? Some of my friends have been caught by the police." Jin Wanzhou frowned slightly. He lifted his head and looked at Bai Youning with a puzzled expression, asking, "What's wrong? Can't you save your friend?" Bai Youning said, "I don't want to trouble my dad." "You don't know my dad, he's so annoying." Indeed, she was annoyed and scared by her father. Her father has been urging her to become Bai Youning's aunt. "Oh, what are you talking about? Cousin-in-law, I want you to call the patrol room and have them release my friends." "What are your friends' names?" "Fang Yanyun, Su Wenqiang." Jin Wanzhou was shocked. After hearing these two names, he remembered two characters from Shanghai Beach. "I didn't hear you clearly, please say it again." "I said, they are called Fang Yanyun, Su Wenqiang." She continued by saying a few people's names. Jin Wanzhou had no impression of the others behind him. He dialed the phone of the patrol room and told the police inside to take good care of all the students who were locked inside. He would bring someone over. Then, he called on Bai Youning and asked her to go with him to meet Fang Yanyun, Wenqiang, and others. Not long after, he saw Fang Yanyun and Wenqiang in the patrol room. For these two protagonists from Shanghai Beach, he naturally wants to meet them first. The patrol officer respectfully said, "Mayor, I have followed your instructions and given them a good rest here." Jin Wanzhou said, "Everyone, I'm taking you out of here now. You can all safely leave now. But Fang Yanyun and Wenqiang, you two can come with me and Bai Youning. I want to talk to you about something." Fang Yanyun and Wenqiang suddenly felt puzzled. But they were relieved when they saw Bai Youning telling them that nothing would happen. Soon, they sat together at the Heart Moon restaurant for a meal. Jin Wanzhou saw Fang Yanyun with pure facial features, fair and beautiful skin, red lips and white teeth, just like a young girl who had not yet delved into the world. She is not the charming socialite she was later on. Jin Wanzhou said to the guest, "Two of you, my name is Jin Wanzhou, and I am Bai Youning's cousin. I am now the mayor of Shanghai. I know you are against the Beiyang warlords. In fact, I don't have much fondness for warlords either. So, I know what you think in your hearts." He suddenly remembered that Wenqiang had only been imprisoned after the school riot. After Wenqiang was released from prison, Fang Yanyun became the #1 socialite on Shanghai Beach. The reason why she became the first socialite is because she had to survive like this in a chaotic world. Jin Wanzhou knew that this period was when the Beiyang warlords were rapidly declining. Fang Yanyun said, "Mayor Jin, the Republic is a global trend. Please kindly follow the trend." Jin Wanzhou said, "Miss Fang, I know you shouldn't say this to me. Alright, if you're interested, you can come and work in my mayor's office. In the future, you will be colleagues with Youning. Wenqiang, I recommend you to study at the Zhenhua Military Academy I established. In the future, you can become a military officer. If you just shout slogans, it's not very useful. If you think the Beiyang warlords are not good, then you have to enter the Beiyang warlords and try to change those people inside." Fang Yanyun and Wenqiang were shocked. Jin Wanzhou smiled and said, "I have similar ideas as you. But I am willing to put them into practice." Fang Yanyun and Wenqiang immediately wore smiles on their faces. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.